Yes.
Come this way. Come over here. Come this way. We need you out of the way.
Okay.
That was the sound of California TV journalist Adelmi Ruiz.
Oh, we got a flex. Put her in flex. Put her in flex. Give me a flex. Give me a flex.
What's a flex?
Put your phone in your pocket. Put your phone in your pocket. And put your hands behind your back.
Wait, I'm
Who was reporting live on her station's Facebook page when police detained her at the scene of a protest at Cal Poly Humboldt in the University of California early Tuesday morning. The school's campus has been shut down since last week after protesters took over a building there, mirroring the situation around the country, including in New York at Columbia University, at UCLA in Los Angeles, and elsewhere. This isn't the first time that college campuses have exploded in protest over war. This was then President Richard M. Nixon on May 5th, 1970, a day after Ohio National Guard shot and killed 4 protesting students at Kent State University.
I would hope that all the members of this administration would have in mind the fact, a role that I have always had, and it's a very simple one. When the action is hot, keep the rhetoric cool.
This coming Saturday will mark the 54th anniversary of the Kent State shootings. We spoke with Laurel Krause, director of the Allison Peace Center, whose sister Allison Krause was one of the 4 students killed at Kent State. Laurel, what are you feeling today?
Well, it's a little trepidatious. It's been quite a week with so much student unrest across the nation, and our government and media continuing to ignore what the students are asking for. So it's been personal for me. As you know, my sister Allison Krause was one of the 4 students killed on May 4, 1970. And as I watch this and hear it and look at YouTubes and interact on social media, it takes me back to 1970 when my sister was killed, and she had no voice either. They didn't listen to her. They didn't listen to her demands against the Vietnam War and Cambodian invasion. It is a very similar experience right now for me.
You know, I remember that time. I'm old enough. And one of the things that I've noticed that's similar to what we're seeing now is the almost wall-to-wall demonization of the students, then as communist dupes, today as Hamas dupes or worse. And this is space where their voices should be heard. What we have now is social media that we didn't have then. I don't know. What should be done? What is to be done? As you know, that's the question always, right? What is to be done?
Well, I've actually heard my neighbors say things like, the students that are protesting right now are being controlled by other forces that are very bad, like Hamas, etc. And that is just patently not true, except for those that are infiltrated, that are going against the pro-Palestinian protesters. And there's a lot of those. But, basically, this is the standard playbook that's always instituted when the government tries to shut down protest, which is supposed to be a First Amendment right for people to protest. And on campuses, on the commons, that's a free speech zone. So our universities should actually be increasing the protection for protesters to speak in free speech zones and not arresting them and not having them face this military force, just like my sister did in May 1970 at Kent State. I also want to note that Columbia University in 1968 put together rules related to how to interact on campus with regard to protest and how the administration should act, how the students should act, and they put together this set of rules that has been in force since 1968. But in October, when these protests started, in response to the genocide that was starting to occur against the Palestinian people, the university, Columbia University, threw away those rule books, and they just acted with brute force immediately, and that's wrong. That's what's wrong, and that is the defining moment when this turns into when protest turns into a targeted event by the government.
You know, George Orwell said, "He who controls the past controls the future." And those lessons, you know, they're curated by museums in different places, like at Kent State University, not in the hands of the people who went out and earned those lessons, not the people who paid the price, but in the interest basically of the same state that allowed or had a hand in killing those kids that day. Talk about the Allison Center for Peace, and the need for some way to have people not just have a vague memory of the history of these things, but to be able to take hold of them and apply them as tools to solve the problems that have been cropping up over and over and over again, and they're threatening to consume us.
Having walked this path for 54 years, and with my family fought the government to include truth in the narrative of the Kent State Massacre, it has been a very tough road. The government has unlimited funds and access to resources that people like me that have been, you know, my sister killed. I was 15. She was 19. And my family fought it in the courts, and we had to come up with all the resources to fight it in the courts, whereas the government, just has a checkbook on all this. And then they have the control of the narrative, because that's the victors always have that control. And they have certainly been victorious in commandeering what we have learned and what Kent State Massacre was about. It was about students protesting against a war and a government refusing to hear those students. And here we are again at the same point. And they're doing exactly the same thing, bringing out brute force instead of listening, instead of having deliberation, instead of having meetings where how can we come to terms here? How can we make sure that, that the students feel heard and the university, is calm? That is not their concern. They're fueling the flames. They're making it worse at every chance, and they're making it dangerous. And I'm here this week. Each night when I go to sleep, it's fitful, because I worry, when will a student be killed? When will the next student protester, have to face M1s or anything else like that? Why are those type of weapons on campuses in the first place? Why is our government making sure that they're there? Why are the students facing military people? What is going on? This has to stop. We have learned nothing from the Kent State Massacre.
Laurel Krause, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on.
For KPFK, I'm Don DeBar.